Welcome back to another video. Today we are going to be doing some creative process. We're going to be creating a snow globe with realistic assets. So I'm going to be using Quixel Bridge to get those assets, and then everything else we're going to model by hand. And we're going to kind of just go with the flow here and just see what we can come up with. And I'm hoping to add some animation to this, some very basic animation with some kind of snow particles or something like that. So let's go ahead and hop into it and see what we can make here. All right. So we are in Blender 3.4. I'm just going to start out by kind of setting up my camera for my scene. I think I'm going to make this 1080 by 1920 so that I can post it for Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. I'm going to first start out by saving this to my Instagram folder. And I'm just going to call this Snow Globe. And if you guys can hear my audio, I apologize on YouTube. I didn't even think about if you guys can hear the music or not. If it's too much, let me know. I'll turn it down for you guys. I'm following from Instagram. How are we doing today? Everybody, we are doing great. Are you a WZ player? I can see. WZ? Warzone. Every now and then. Yeah, I play Warzone every now and then. All right, let's go ahead and switch over to cycles because we're not going to be using Eevee today. World settings, I'm just going to throw an environment texture on there. And I think I'm going to select something that is already sort of like overcast, like similar to like a snowy environment. Now this is a snowy environment right here, but this is actually not an HDRI. It's just a picture. Probably should remove it from this folder. Why don't we use something like this for now? I actually really like this HDRI because it has these nice windows in here that let the light in, but other areas of the HDRI, it's dark. I'm also going to add in a plane here, guys. Hello, what's up, Shelter C? Good to see you, man. I'm going to drag the plane down, and I'm going to give myself an orthographic perspective for this because I just love the orthographic perspective. I think it's perfect for what I'm about to do right now, and it's just we're going to get some really cool results here. So let me just go ahead and save real quick. I'm going to delete the cube because that's where we're going to put our snow globe, and then for our surface right here, for now, I'm just going to give this like a darker color so we can see the things that we're putting on top of it. All right, let's go ahead and open up Quixel Bridge and hope that my computer does not completely fail right now because I'm running a lot of programs right now. All right, let's go ahead and search some assets. So I'm just going to type in snow and just see what we get. All right, so already we have some 3D assets that are available to us. We have rocky snow pile. See, these are all incredible. I'm actually going to come back to this. First, I'm going to make sort of like the globe with just like a sphere and some other objects. And I'm going to make a little stand for it out of a cylinder. So let's go ahead and construct that first. So I'm going to go into my solid mode here, add mesh. Let's start with the base. So I'm going to do cylinder. I'm going to keep everything like 1-to-1 with the original dimensions that we're adding in here. So I'm just going to scale this on the Z-axis to something that I like. I think that's perfect. And then I'm going to add some modifiers in here. I'm going to add in an edge split modifier. I'm going to add in a bevel modifier. I'm actually going to put that before the edge split. And then I'm going to add in a subdivision surface modifier. And we're just going to bump that up one time. And we are going to go to Object, Apply Scale, and you'll watch how this bevel transforms itself. I'm going to turn the bevel down a little bit more. And I think this is looking pretty good. What I'll probably do next is I'll apply everything, and then I'll go into Edit mode and start constructing the way I want this to look. But first, I want to bring it all the way down to the floor, so it's right below our floor here. I'm just going to zoom in to double check that. I'll even bring the floor up a little bit, and we can adjust the camera angle later to match all of this stuff, guys. Let me go ahead and minimize my face so you guys can like really see what I'm doing here. All right, so make sure I'm not missing any questions. We are good to go. All right, so we have our cylinder right here. I think I'm going to go into edit mode, and this is where I'm going to start to like really construct everything. I'm going to turn on this little X-ray mode right here. The geometry is actually looking quite weird. But what I think I want to do is I just want to like take some of these vertices and like scale them out, kind of like that, you know? And then I think what I want to do is do the same thing down here. So I want to take all of these vertices, scale them out a little bit. You'll see what I'm doing in a second. And then I want to take the bottom, scale that out. Oops, no, I don't want that part. But I'm going to undo that. I'm actually going to take this, scale that out a little bit like that. And then I'm going to take just this center one and just scale it out a little bit. I just want to see what that looks like right there. That looks pretty good. I'm just trying to create these fun little ridges. And then again, I'm going to add another subdivision surface modifier, turn it up, save this, shade smooth. And as you guys can see, just what I did right there is already going to create this really cool effect where we just kind of have these nice ridges in our snow globe like base here. So I want to select this little area right here, and I actually want to rotate it. It's not letting me rotate. RX. Guys, I'm actually going to undo real quick. Hold on. I actually want to undo that one operation I did in edit mode. So we're going to undo that, tab out, go back to subdivision surface, go back into edit mode, and I'm actually going to scale these a little bit. So I'm going to actually select everything on this side, and I'm going to do, what is it, I believe it's SZ0? No, SX0. I think I did that right. Hold on. All right, maybe we're not going to do that. I kind of forget the operation, guys. I apologize. But anyway, the whole point of this was that if you take different parts of these vertices and you like scale them around while you have your subdivision surface applied, you can get these nice smooth results. I actually don't think that looks too bad. So for now, we're just going to go with that. And now I'm going to add in our sphere, and we're going to cut off the bottom of it so that it's like a globe section on the top here. So let's go ahead and add in a sphere. And I'm just going to go to my side view, bring it down a little bit until it's like touching right about there. Actually, I'm going to add in, guys, a round sphere. I'm sorry. Which is not in here. Where is that? All right, fine. We'll use the sphere. That's fine. I actually forgot that now that I updated Blender, I do not have access to the round sphere anymore because I believe it was an add-on, which is all good. Let's go ahead and tab into edit mode and just delete everything that we don't need here. Oops. Which would be all this stuff right here. So I'm going to tab out of edit mode. I am going to go back into solid mode, turn off my ghost mode. Looks good so far. I'm going to scale it down a little bit. Go to my top-down view. I think that looks good. I'm going to add in a subdivision surface modifier, and I'm going to shade this smooth. Now, the only other thing I want to do is actually add a solidify modifier before our subdivision. And now if we go into our solid view, you see how we have this little rim here? You see how we have like some solidity to the actual object itself now? This is going to allow us to actually get these really realistic refractions and like light warping effects when we actually apply our glass material to this. This looks awesome so far. I'm pretty happy with it. And what's great about the solidify modifier is you can make it as thick as you want. I think 0.04 looks good, so we'll go with that for now. And then, of course, I want to bring this down. So I'm going to go to my side view, bring it down so it's barely touching right here. Now, if you really wanted to, you could go into edit mode with this, bring this surface down and make it concave, but I'm not going to do that for now because I'm trying to keep things relatively simple. Let's go into our solid view or our rendered view, go to our camera, pop out this little tab and adjust all of the settings here. Location, we're just going to even everything out here. I'll just make this 7, -7, 5, and then 45 degrees on our Z axis. And then I'm going to hold Control and snap this down one more level. Hold Control and Shift so we can snap it down in increments. I think this is looking really good so far. Hi, man. I'm from Tajikistan, Central Asia. That's awesome. We got people kind of all around the world watching here, and that's great to hear that. All right, so let's go ahead and click on our sphere here. Let's go ahead and create a new material, and I'm just going to make this a glass BSDF, and I'm going to turn the roughness all the way down. And just like that, we already have a nice little glass sphere going here. This looks awesome. Now, for our bottom material, I'm thinking wood right off the bat, but at the same time, you don't have to do that if you don't want to. So for now, I'll just give this like a nice metallic material, and I'll turn the roughness down quite a bit. And then you can make it like blue if you want to, red for Christmas. Red actually doesn't look too bad. Why don't we go with red for now, and then we can come back to this part later. So now this is the part where I'm going to go ahead and take assets, and I'm going to put them into our snow globe. And this is like the really fun part, because this is where we get to get really creative. But before I do that, let me just zoom in on my scene a little bit with the camera. That looks awesome. And again, around our snow globe, we can also add other assets too. So let's go ahead to Quixel Bridge, and let's check out what they have for us here. They have tons of awesome terrain that we can import. And then they also have actual snow textures. So like I think I already have this downloaded. So for example, I could export this over to Blender. Wait for that to export. Error. Oh no. All right, so since I updated Blender, this actually might not work. Crap. Hold on, let me try it. Let me try it with a different material and see if it works. Damn, does not want to export over. Okay. Well, that really puts a wrench in our plans. All right, in this case, why don't we just design everything from scratch and just go with the general theme of snow. We're still going to create something cool here. The original plan was to use realistic assets, but for some reason, Quixel Bridge does not want to export everything over, so I apologize for that, guys. Normally, I would throw everything from Quixel Bridge right into here, but since we don't have that, I guess we're going to have to design some stuff from scratch, which is totally okay because we can just use primitives and work from there. So, very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add in another cylinder, go to my solid view, turn on my ghost mode, or x-ray mode, scale this on the z-axis, and I'm just going to make this really, really thin cylinder that is going to act as our like snow ground right here. So I'm just going to move it down on the z-axis, and I'm going to go to rendered view real quick so I can see. I want to move this to the bottom of the sphere so it's basically right inside of our sphere, and it's going to be like our snowy ground. Now, what's great about this is I'm actually going to apply the scale and add in a displacement on this so we can actually create this hilly atmosphere. So this is going to be really cool. Let me first create a new material. I'll just make it like sort of low roughness, like slightly metallic. We don't want it to be too metallic because snow isn't like extremely reflective. So I think that looks pretty good right there. Oh yeah, I am on my GPU. All right, let's go ahead and add in a displacement. What the heck? Hold on, guys. Why did that happen? Object, apply, scale. Did I not do that correctly? Okay, I don't know why it's doing that, but that's okay. Let me go over to my displacement. Let's add in a clouds displacement. But before that, let's add in a subdivision surface because something weird is happening here. What in the world is happening with our cylinder? Apologies, guys. This should not be happening. The displacement is working, but for some reason... Okay, that looks better. That was weird. I don't know why that was happening. I'm going to make our mid-level a little bit lower. Let's add in a bevel up top. Sometimes when you add in a bevel, it like stops things from getting too warped. Yeah, that's a lot better. Alright, so now we can really adjust our displacement here. Let's go back to our render view and just see what this looks like. For anybody watching on Instagram, you probably want to hop on YouTube, and that is where I'm actually showing everything that I'm doing at the moment. That looks pretty good. I'm going to shade that smooth. And then what we can do is we can actually tab back into edit mode real quick. Go to our side view, and I'm just going to bring this bottom section down a little bit. And I'm going to bring this up. Cool. So we have this kind of like weird pancake looking thing. Blender does not want to work for me right now. There we go. And then we're going to scale it in a little bit like that. And then I'm actually going to duplicate this, and I'm going to remove all the modifiers. And I'll show you why right now. If it'll let me. There we go. Shift D, duplicate, get rid of all the modifiers, and then I'm going to bring it back down. Well, first I'm going to zero everything. Bring it back down below our scene here. Go to my top-down view, scale it up, and this is going to be our base that anything that's not covered by this snowy, hilly area, this will cover. You guys will see what I mean when I go to render view. So like anything underneath of this will still be white as long as I have this slightly above the red surface. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that looks good. Let's go back to our camera view. So far, so good. And I do love how we have these nice reflections. Let's go to the floor and let's actually add in... Oh, hello, Fatu Tutorials. How are you today, my friend? Let's add in like a nice metallic surface for this. Low roughness. And I'm just going to make this like a whiter color. That looks awesome. That looks awesome. That's perfect. All right, I really like how this is shaping up so far. Let's start to add in some like elements within our scene here. I'm thinking we can add in some really simple trees with cones and other primitives. So I'm going to go back to my solid view again. I'm just going to turn off this mode. And let's go ahead and add in a cylinder. Move it up, scale it down, scale it up on the z-axis. Hold on. There we go. All right, I think that's perfect. So we're going to go with something like that, and then we're going to go ahead and add in a mesh cone. Move that up, scale that down. Let's go to our side view so it's easier to see this. Now we're literally just going to take this, duplicate it, move it down on the z-axis, And just like that, we have a tree. It might look low poly, but that's kind of what I'm going for at this point since we can't get our other assets. And then you can basically take all these, you can highlight all these, go into your normals, alt click this, and it'll auto smooth them, and then right click shade smooth. And let's go to our rendered view and see how that looks. And it looks pretty good. And then what I'll probably do is just give these like a really simple green material. Something like this, darker. That looks good. And if you really wanted to, you could go in here and you could add more material, or a different type of material, and you could add like a bevel. I think this looks good enough for what I'm doing, and I'm not really going too crazy here. I'm just gonna give this like a nice brown material. And just like that, we have a tree. And of course, you can move this up and down on the Z-axis to adjust how you want your tree to look. And then what's great about this is we can either group these together in a collection, or we can actually go ahead and add in an empty. So in my case, I think I'm just going to add in a cube empty. I'm going to go back to my solid view. I'm just going to move the cube up and scale it on the Z-axis so that it kind of contains our object here. And then I'm going to select all these. Oops, select all these, and lastly select my cube, and I'm going to parent everything to our empty. So now when we move our empty around, we can scale it, we can do anything we want with it. And this is perfect for me because I am going to scale it down, and I'm going to move it down within our scene so that it is in the snow globe. Looks really good. Alright, this is perfect because now we can just move it wherever we want, and we can duplicate it. Now when you duplicate an empty, you have to make sure you have everything selected, so be really careful about that. I'm going to go into my ghost mode here. Now when you duplicate the empty, guys, you want to drop it down, shift click everything, and then you want to do shift D to duplicate. So now, as you can see, we have a completely separate empty with the same object. I'm going to go to my top down view, and I'm just going to place these around here. I'm going to duplicate one more time. Alright, 2 more times. Alright, I think that looks good enough. And of course, you can scale them down if you need to. In fact, you probably should, because you don't want them to all be like the same height. Okay. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So far, so good. I actually think I'm going to adjust my HDRI's angle so that we can go ahead and figure out some better lighting for this situation. Kenny, you put so much effort into what you do. I feel you, bro. All the best effort. Thank you. Oh, all the best, bro. Sorry. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And I try, because I'm trying to make good content for you guys that's like super useful. All right, we're going to hop over to our shading tab, guys. Go to our world settings, or our world like node area. Add in a texture coordinate. And we're going to go ahead and add in a mapping node. And we're just going to plug everything in like this, vector to the vector, generated to the vector. And nothing's going to change because we're not in rendered mode, but if we go to rendered mode, we can now adjust our Z-axis for our HDRI, and as you can see, it's completely changing the lighting. I think that looks perfect right there. That caught my eye enough where I'm like, that might be it. But you can keep adjusting as you go. Like, as you guys can see, it's going to completely affect the entire scene as you adjust your light source. Like, that actually doesn't look bad there. I want that nice highlight on the sphere, and I just want the lighting to look like perfect for this. So that doesn't look too bad. I enjoy that enough where I think I might go with that. Cool. All right, what else can we add to our scene here? I'm definitely going to add some snow particles, but I'm trying to think of one more thing that I want to add in here. You'll also go ahead and click on our empty here. Where is our empty that controls this small one here? There's. All right, I just want to bring that up because I couldn't see the base of the tree. That looks good. And I think I'm actually going to take this and move it on the Y-axis a little bit, then move it back on the X. I'm trying to create just a nice little simple scene here. It really does not have to be anything crazy. I'm also going to click on my glass real quick, and I'm going to look at my IOR. Maybe turn that down to 1.2 or up to 2. Let's see. Trying to see what works better for this scene. That looks good. Make sure I have my auto smoothing on as well. That looks pretty good. All right, I'm pretty happy with this, guys, so far. You know what we could do? We could add a little campfire in here. Yeah, why don't we try to do that and see if we can get this campfire to glow. The question is, how are we going to model this campfire? Let's go ahead to our solid view. I'm going to turn off this ghost mode for a second. Let me just look at my primitives here, see what will be closest to a fire. Let's see. The cone is probably the closest, but you know what we could do? We could just go ahead and add in a sphere and like give it some displacement. All right, let me just try something real quick because this is about the creative process and trying new things. Let me go to my sphere here, go to my side view, bring it up. Let's go into our edit mode here, and I'm just going to delete like the bottom half of this. And then what I want to do is I just want to add in a displacement modifier, new, go to my displacement area, and I want to add in a Voronoi. So already I think this is starting to look how I imagined it would look. Kind of like fire, but kind of like a low poly kind of fire here. And let's add in a subdivision surface. And then let's bump it up one. And let's just add in an emission shader. And we'll just give it like, I don't know, something like that. Strength 10. I don't know, just see like what that looks like. Maybe make it a little more like yellow orangey. I think that looks good. All right, now let's go to our side view again, scale it down, move it down into our scene, snap to the camera view, scale it down more, move it up, top down view, move it towards the front. We'll probably also create some like logs to like have the fire sitting around. But so far, I think it looks pretty good. Now we could create a mix shader where it's, or we could create like a gradient shader for this. I'm happy with like how this looks so far though. Let me go to my displacement. To be honest, we don't need that many subdivisions. I actually think it looks really good just by itself. Let's add in a few cylinders to act as some logs and see if we can get this thing to look a little bit better. I'm going to go to my solid view again. I am going to add in a cylinder, move it up, scale it. I think that's fine, and I'm just going to add like a bevel to this. Object apply, scale. Bring it down a little bit. Shade smooth. That's fine. And then I'm just going to give this the same shader as the base of the tree. As you can see, we have our log here. I'm going to bring it down towards our fire, just scale it down. Sometimes it's easier to do these things in your like side view, just because you can see exactly where you're putting your items. Scale it down even more. And every time you adjust something like the scale, just don't forget to apply, especially if you have modifiers, because now like our bevel is going to look completely different. All right, there we go. That looks good. Now I'm going to go back into solid view so that things are running a little bit smoother here. All right, and then let's just go ahead and rotate this around. Find a good spot for it. It looks pretty good. So the idea is we're going to just make this look like the classic campfire look. That looks pretty good. Just move that there. And we'll probably go back into rendered view in a second here. I'm just trying to piece together like something really, really simple here. I think that looks pretty good. And we'll just bring one for the back as well. Scale that up. Now they're going to cut into the fire a little bit, but that's okay because that's probably what it would look like anyway. I think that looks decent. The fire, let's see. Yeah, I'm happy enough with that where I feel like we can get away with it. But I want to do one last thing. I want to take this one, duplicate it, scale it down, move it, maybe something like that. Just add a little bit more detail in there. Okay. Oops. There we go. And just move it up. I think that looks good. What do you guys think? I think that's enough where like we have enough detail where it's still like low poly, but I think it looks good. What do you guys think? Does that look like a fire? I feel like it more or less looks like a fire. Look this your setup. Do more physics animation. Doing nice, bro. Hi, Kenny. Hey, how's it going? Hi, bro. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. What else did I miss here? Hi. See what? Oh, yeah, if you guys are on Instagram, hop over to YouTube because that is where I'm actually streaming this. So, All right, so we got our campfire. We got our like trees in the globe. Let me think of what else I would want to do for this. The other thing, guys, I was going to show you is that since we have our plane under here, we can actually do the same thing that we did to our cylinder inside, which was add a little bit of displacement. So let me just apply the scale real quick. Add in a displacement, new displacement, and let's add in let's try magic. And then we need to subdivide this a few times. And just like that, we have our magic displacement, but I actually want to do Musgrave and then add a subdivision surface modifier. I want to scale this down, move it below our scene. That looks pretty good. Shade smooth. Hop back over to rendered view. And then we're going to go ahead and make this the same shader as the inside cylinder, which I believe is this. And now we have this nice snowy landscape, and it looks really good. Hi Tech Models, how are you today? Let's see. Someone wants to be in the live stream. I'm sorry, not at the moment, but thank you for the offer. And Adobe Photoshop Learn. Yeah, I know everything about Photoshop. Well, a lot of things about Photoshop, so I can surely teach you guys that as well. It's in the works. Mainly I've been doing Blender stuff because that is my strong suit right now, but to be honest, I actually know more about Photoshop than I do about Blender. So I will go ahead and just add that to my tutorial request list. I'm just going to say Photoshop in general, and I can teach you guys like the absolute basics of that. That's super simple. Photoshop will take you a day to learn, seriously, if you're really trying to learn. All right, we got 6 people concurrent on YouTube. We're looking good. All right, let's go ahead and hop back into this tutorial for the snow globe. Again, guys, this is just kind of like a relaxed process. We're just kind of going through the motions, trying to create something really, really cool. And I think so far, I'm really happy with what we have. I'm really, really happy with this, and it looks really cool. Now, what else can we add to our scene? We have a fire. We have trees. We're missing some Christmas lights. Christmas lights could be cool. I'm trying to think of something simple we can model that's not going to take like a crazy amount of work, but we can still get some super cool stuff going on in here. Now, another thing I was going to do is we could do a wreath, but I don't know where we would put the wreath in there. Maybe like a sled. I feel like a sled would be pretty easy to make. All right, why don't we try to do it like a really simple like bobsled? Yeah, let's do that. Let me just look up what a sled looks like real quick because I really don't remember. I'm thinking in my head of what I think it looks like. Yeah, this is what I was thinking right here. Something exactly like this, actually. All right, let me pull up an image. I'm gonna use PureRef for this, guys. Do you guys know what PureRef is? PureRef is amazing because I can literally have this sitting here, have Blender on my left. PureRef can be on my right. Where is it? All right, PureRef will be right here, and we'll just use this to model everything. Cool. I just want to get an image of a sled, and then we're going to drag it over to PureRef. I was thinking something like this, like something really, really, really simple. Yeah, literally, like more or less like that. It shouldn't be too hard to model. We'll see. We'll see, because I'm not an expert modeler. I think this is like the perfect simple sled to try out. That's it. We're gonna try to make something like this. Let's go ahead and save this to our downloads, and let's go ahead and drag this in here, and let's get out of this. All right, cool. All right, guys. So we got our stream. All right. Hey, will you unlist this live stream? Unlist it? What do you mean? Hello, Cleon. How are you today, my friend? We're on YouTube streaming right now for those of you who want to join. All right, so we got our image ref right here. Let's try to model this thing. Looks like it's mostly going to be composed of simple parts, so I'm hoping this won't be a pain to model. And I'm probably going to make a whole new collection just for this. I'm just going to say sled. Cool. Excuse me. All right, let's go ahead and just first add in not a plane. Add in a cube. Bring that up. Go to our side view, scale it down, and then I'm going to scale it on our x-axis a little bit. These are just going to be our like planks. SY, That looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to make this simple for myself, make an array modifier. And we're just going to give it the slightest bit of offset. And then what do they have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like maybe 5 of those. Or we can do 4 and keep it simple. Object, apply, scale. That's fine. And then maybe just add a bevel modifier to this. Just not a lot at all. That looks perfect. Shade that smooth. Actually, let's not shade it smooth. I think it looks fine like that. All right, so that's the top part. Now for the bottom part, it looks like we have very, very similar things. So I'm actually going to duplicate this, bring it down, get rid of my modifiers, and we're going to use this for both sides here. So here's what's really cool. I want to show you guys like a little trick though. We can add a mirror modifier to this so that it flips to both sides. So this is just something I don't even remember where I learned this. Just probably in like a general modeling tutorial. But so for this, I think what I want to do is I want to add in a subdivision surface modifier. Before that, I'll add in a bevel. Object, apply, scale. And the bevel, I'm going to turn that down a bunch. Why in the heck is this thing acting so weird? Hold on, let me tab this, subdivide it a few times. There we go, it looks a little bit better. I don't know why, guys, but this shape is acting very, very strange. All right, let's go ahead and just build this little like curved part out in the front, and then we'll go to the next part. All right, I am going to tab into edit mode. I'm going to go to this little mode here. Now, to add a loop cut, we're just going to do Control R, and that adds like a nice little loop cut. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to extrude this out and just kind of curve it up. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to do E to extrude. I'm just going to move it here, move it up on the Z-axis, and then I'm just going to rotate it by on the Y-axis like that. And then we're just going to actually just slowly build out our curve here. Again, E, R, Y, rotate, and I'm just going to build it out like this. This is like really, really simple way to do this, but to be honest, it's actually pretty effective. And then RY. Guys, I'm not really like a modeling strong suit, but it seems to be working for me, so I'm just going to stick with this. And then it looks like it curves back over itself again. I'm just going to start curving it back around. Let me just put this here, perfect, and that's good. I actually think that looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. It's a little wonky right there. Why does it look like that right there? Let's just take our bevel off for now. I think this looks fine. What do you guys think for our sled? I'm pretty happy with that. And then you could duplicate it, or you could do what I'm going to do, which is add an empty in. So let me add in an empty, I'll just add in a plain axis, keep it simple, scale it up, move it up, holding Control and Shift, center it right here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on our little ski thing that we just created, add in a mirror modifier, and then we're going to select the empty, and then we're going to select the Y axis. So click off as X and make it Y, and now we have two things for our for our sled here. All right, so now what I think I want to do, guys, is I want to add those little connecting pieces, and then in terms of the sled, we'll be done after that. And I'll use my mirror modifier twice in this case, and I'll show you what I mean in a second here. Let me go ahead and create like a little connecting piece, and then we should be good. I think I'm just going to duplicate this again, move it up, get rid of the array modifier. I'm going to scale this on the X-axis, and I'm going to go to my side view, move it down, and then I think I'm just going to like scale it a little bit more, rotate it on the Y-axis, something simple like that. And then what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to add in a mirror modifier. Where is it? Mirror modifier. I'm going to select our empty again. And then as you can see, it just flipped it right here. And now we want to flip it on the Y-axis as well. And as you can see, we now have connecting pieces. However, one more thing I think I want to do is I actually want to create just a little bit of a bow in that. So first I'm going to object apply scale. I'm going to collapse my modifiers here. And then I'm going to add in a simple deform modifier. And I want to just or bend this on the y-axis. I believe it's bend y. We're going to have to put this before our bevel. There we go. Twist now, bend. Really does not want to bend for me, does it? I'm wondering if I can put this, maybe if I put it after the bevel. Or not. It's actually not bad. I kind of like that a little bit. The idea was I was going to bend it, but I'm going to actually tab into edit mode and subdivide it a few times. And I think that'll let me bend it more. Or not. It should be bending on its own origin. No? Oh, there we go. That looks pretty good. So that's kind of what I was going for, and then I'm going to rotate it on the y-axis. Bring it up. That at least looks better. And I think I'm going to scale it in on the y-axis as well. Just so it's in the center. Overall, like, I think that looks pretty good. These could probably move down a little bit. These could probably rotate just a little bit more. I'm spending way too much time on this, but I just wanted to show you guys some cool, like, little tricks that you could use. I think that looks good enough for a sled. What do you guys think? I'm more or less pretty happy with that. Yeah, that'll do for this. Cool. All right, this is perfect. All right, let's save this. Now let's parent everything to an empty, like we did before. Add empty cube. Bring it up on the z-axis, scale it on the x-axis. Let's go ahead and make sure everything is covered here. And I'm going to go ahead and scale it on the y-axis as well. Cool. And then I'm going to shift-click everything, parent to our empty, and now we should be good to go. Nope. Sorry, guys, I parented that incorrectly. There we go. No, it's not going to work. Okay, I think we're good now. All right, cool. So our empty now controls our sled. And now that we have our sled designed, we can go ahead and scale it down a bunch and bring it into our scene. Where in the world is it? There it is. And we're also going to have to apply some materials to it as well. So our sled is right here. I am going to bring it down on the snow. I'm probably going to rotate it a little bit too. Something like that. I think that looks pretty good. And again, you guys can control everything with empties if you want to. So, like, for example, I probably should have taken the fire and had it controlled by an empty so we could easily move everything. But as you can see, we still have everything good to go. So let's go ahead and move this over here. Maybe rotate it a little bit so it's kind of like on this hill. I think that looks pretty good. And then for this part right here, I'm going to copy over our material from our tree. And then same for here. Oh, sorry guys, actually I just realized we should probably have these be metallic. So I'm actually going to get rid of that material, and I'm just going to make a new metallic material with a low roughness. Shade those smooth. That looks really, really good. And same for these. Alright, I think that's pretty much perfect. Let's go ahead and unhide our sphere. See what this looks like. Maybe move our fire to the left a little bit. All right, I am going to go ahead and hide our sphere, and I'm actually going to parent all this stuff to an empty. I'm just trying to teach you guys how to easily organize stuff. It's just so much easier when you have stuff parented because you can contain it within an empty and move it around just so much easier. Like so much easier. You should probably also be naming them like fire. Move this back up to my other collection. All right, so this is gonna take a second. I gotta select everything, including the fire, and then lastly select my empty parent, and we should be good to go. All right, we are good to go. Now everything's not perfectly centered, but that's okay. You can always adjust that later. I'm just gonna move our fire over here, go back, unhide our sphere, rendered view, and let's just go ahead and see what we have. Oh, and also for my fire, I want to actually go to my sphere, and I want to go back to my modifiers, and why does this look so weird? That looks fine. Alright, I'm more or less pretty happy with that. What do you guys think so far? I think it's coming together, and I think the only thing left that I really want to do is add some modifiers. But so far, I think this is looking really good. I think we're teaching a lot here on how to do this kind of stuff in Blender. I'm going to close out of PureRef now. Close window. There we go. Sorry, my mic is in the way. All right, let me full screen Blender again. Again, this is just a very, very simple way to kind of throw a scene like this together. We have our fire, we have our sled, and then we have our trees. And then the overall globe looks really good as well. Trying to think of what else we could add to our scene besides particles. I'm going to click on my camera right here real quick. Let's go ahead to our camera settings. Let's turn on, you guessed it, depth of field. And then I'm going to select my sphere for my object. Everything's looking pretty good so far. We could really, really exaggerate this and do like 0.3, but then you're not going to be able to see a darn thing. So I'm going to bump it up to 5. That looks pretty good. Now, we can also adjust some of our render settings like I went over last time. We can use optics for our noise samples. I'm going to choose 150, collapse all this. Light paths, I'm going to turn everything to 2 and see what it looks like. Now, I see what happened when I turned down transmission to 2. Watch what happens when I turn it up to 3. Now watch what happens when I turn it up to 4. You need like a minimum of 4 to be able to see through that glass. So keep that in mind when you're doing things like this. Volume, 0. We're not using volumetrics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 10. We're going to use a total of 10 light paths. I think this looks really good. You guys can adjust your light paths until you're happy with what you have. I think this is looking really solid. Let's go ahead and add in, you guessed it, snow. I'm missing something. I can't see what's being done. That's because I'm streaming over on YouTube MSMI77Y. Go ahead and check that out on YouTube. That is where I'm streaming, and I just figured I'd also be on Instagram so I could tell you guys to hop over into YouTube. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and add in some particles here. In order to add in the particles, I'm going to use something simple like an icosphere, turn down the subdivisions a bunch, and then we're just going to use those to act as our snow particles. And since we have our depth of field enabled, this is going to look super, super cool. And I think so far I'm pretty happy with everything that we have in our scene. We have a nice little sled. We have our snow. We have our fireplace or our fire pit, whatever it's called. I did notice, though, now that I'm looking at it, the snow is overhanging just a little bit. Yeah, where is it? It's like, maybe it isn't. Or we can, you know what we can do if our snow is overhanging? We can just increase our sphere just a tiny bit. Perfect. That looks awesome. All right, guys, let's add in some snow particles. Let's go ahead and first add in a mesh icosphere, and then go ahead and click on this little drop down. Oh, you guys can't see it. Hold on, let me move my face. There's a little drop down at the bottom here. There you go. Just turn the subdivisions down to 1. Because we can just use this simple shape as our snow particle so that the computer doesn't have a lot to handle. And then real quick, I'm going to copy my material from our snow floor. And if we just go into render view, let's just double check that. And it has the same material. You can shade it smooth. It really doesn't matter. These are going to be so small that you're not really going to see them much. So let's go ahead and scale them down to maybe like something like that. Now this is where you can kind of scatter them however you like. You could run a physics simulation and then freeze everything. There's like so many ways that you could go about doing this. You can add snow puppets. Yes, snow, please. All right, so let me click on my snow particle. I'm probably going to do it the manual way. So I'll probably do something like this, Shift D, just duplicate this quite a few times. Something like that, right? I'll just take this. I will duplicate that, right? Something like this. And I'll just keep duplicating repeatedly. And then I'll take the whole bunch, duplicate that, and we have a bunch of snow particles. And then we would have to scatter them throughout. Now, to be honest, guys, I could run a physics simulation. Let's just do it real quick so I can teach you guys something. I'm going to click on one of these. I'm going to add in a... Oh, we should probably also highlight all these and object apply scale. Click on one of these and just click on our physics settings. Let me also turn this freaking song off because this song is driving me crazy right now. All right, cool. All right, so click on one of these, add a rigid body physics, active, convex hull, that's fine. And then I'm going to add in a, where is it? Force field, turbulence. Where's turbulence? Am I tripping, guys? There it is. All right, turbulence, bring that up. And then for the turbulence strength, let's just try like -100 and see what happens. Now, before we actually can see what happens with the turbulence, we have to apply our rigid body to everything else. So with this selected, highlight everything else, object, rigid body, copy from active. And now they all should have the same thing. Let's go ahead and play this and see what happens. So you see how they all fall down? That is because our turbulence is clearly not affecting them. Oh, we have to turn gravity off, I think. Yeah, turn gravity off. Now let's see what happens. All right, see how they start to disperse like that? This is exactly what I want. Now, what's great about this is we can go to any point in the animation and be like, okay, that's it right there. Boom, snap to camera, and just like that, we have all our snow particles. But our snow particles are a little big, as I'm looking at right now, so I'm actually going to go back to my solid view, back to frame 1, and I'm going to take all of these. Turbulence, I'm going to go ahead and lock into place so that we can't move it anymore. I gotta also find out where that is. There it is. I'm gonna lock turbulence into place so that we can't move it. And I'm gonna take all of my particles, I'm gonna scale them down, and I'm gonna duplicate them a bunch more. Just like that. And then let's go ahead and play it back now. Cool. I don't know why some of them aren't moving, but that's fine. And then I actually am gonna rotate them. So let's take... Alright, this is going to be funny. So let's take all these and rotate them towards the camera on the z-axis, RZ. And the reason we're doing this is because we want them to disperse evenly amongst the scene. Let's go ahead and play this back. That looks good. And let's go ahead and look at what we have now. Cool. Alright, so far so good. I'm going to go ahead and select some of the particles and maybe mess with the materials as well. I actually think they need to be just a little bit smaller, guys. I'm sorry. Again, this is kind of like a fine-tuning process here. And I'm going to bring them closer to the camera as well. Let's go ahead and see what this looks like. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. Alright, I like this a lot better. Now, another thing we can do is we can add in, you guessed it, motion blur. Now, when we add in motion blur, we should have this nice little effect where if we just render one frame, everything is going to be blurred out as it moves with that turbulence force field. Let's go ahead and try to render one image and just see what this looks like so far. So I'm super curious. All right, let's render this. It looks like it's going to take about less than 30 seconds, and it actually looks pretty good for the most part. I'm not seeing that motion blur, maybe because these pieces aren't moving very fast. So far, though, this is looking really, really good. All right, and it's done. 14 seconds. All right, cool. So overall, guys, I think it looks pretty solid. And this is where you guys can customize everything as you like. I might go back one more time, adjust those particles of snow, and make them even smaller and duplicate them one more time. This is me probably being a little bit too realistic about it. Like, to be honest, I probably shouldn't do this because I'm supposed to be doing this as low poly since we couldn't access our other assets. Looks pretty good. I don't know why some of the particles aren't moving, so I apologize about that. That's perfect. That was what I was going for. We have the low poly trees, relatively low poly sled. We have our fire. We have our snow globe, the snow. Guys, this is looking solid. I'm really happy with this. We have our real HDRI that we're using, depth of field. This all kind of just came together, and I think it looks really, really good, and I'm very, very happy with it. Now, this was originally supposed to be for an animation, more or less, but I actually think it looks really good as just a still image, so I think that's how I'm going to advertise it when I go ahead and like post a reel or a YouTube short. Yeah, I think this came out awesome, guys. This is perfect. Let me just go ahead and render the image one more time. Honestly, the snow particle simulation could be a tutorial within itself. So I might write that down so I don't forget that. Snow particle. Cool. All right, this is almost done. It's looking really, really solid, guys. That's perfect. What do you guys think? Cool for like a nice little fun Blender scene? I think it's pretty much good. I'm probably going to wrap this actual recording up for the YouTube tutorial. I do hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun making this. Again, we went into it with kind of zero plan, but like I feel like we ended up with a really, really cool result. So I'm super, super excited. Yeah, you guys can see this. I'm so sorry. Let me show my Instagram streamers here. This is what we just created on our live stream for YouTube. Very, very simple little thing that we made in Blender, but super, super effective. And again, this was all with like very, very low poly stuff. So I was super happy to make this for you guys, or like with you guys. Sorry, this is what we just made, guys. Apologies for those of you on Instagram who didn't really see it. I was trying to just kind of get everybody over on YouTube. But guys, if you'd like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate you watching, and I hope you learned something. Again, I'm going to probably put out a little like physics simulation next for how to like create snow particles, because that was actually like super simple to do. So I could show you guys probably in less than 5 minutes. All right, guys, take it easy and make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the channel for future videos.